Since the last test, I haven't actually changed any aspect of the Arduino code. If I just bring this in here, the circuit board remains the same as before, apart from now I have taken off the light sensors and they are now within this CD wallet housing. If I just hold this up. So what I've done is that I've just poked through the wallets and coming out of the back there, and it's the same on the other side with a hole punch in the actual file itself, and this is allowing the wires to come out. Now if we look at the processing code, before I had managed to get the serial port to be read from Arduino in processing. Now it's been advanced on quite a lot since then, combining the serial port example with the video example. One of the first aspects that had to be done is, because the values being recorded were strings, these needed to be instead floats, which are integers including decimals. And so I created a float called float value, that's shown here. Now if I just scroll down a little bit, what I had to do was transform that value, make that value a float from the previous string, which was called val. So basically what that's doing is it's converting the string into a float, which then allows me to use the sensor values and do something based on that. Now moving upwards, I also have added the movie clips. There's one for the Frozen trailer and another is for The Legend of Hercules. Now these are just simple renames. I've then had to add a boolean for each. It's set to false to begin with. This is to say that at the start they're both not playing. Now if I scroll down a little bit, each of the movie files has been placed within the data subdirectory of my sketch, and this allows them to be directly called. One of the major aspects that needed changing was when calling the serial port, the frame rate had to be changed to 5. This was quite a difficult measure to kind of get right. First, because initially the data was coming in way too fast and it wasn't able to recognize it in the serial port, so I reduced it to 1 to begin with. The issue then being that it wasn't receiving the data fast enough and it was lagging when I was uncovering light sensors, meaning that it didn't trigger fast enough, so 5 ended up being about the happy medium. One of the main issues that arose from this, however, was that it was triggering too fast at the start, because when the actual processing sketch boots up, the lights sensors trigger like instantly, and this means that they were registering as being too much light and hence the movies were playing instantly. To counteract this, what I did was I introduced a delay at the start. This is just a simple delay of about 2 seconds, and what this will do is it will mean that that won't happen and it will just go straight into reading it as false and that the light is not being detected. Now if I scroll down a little further, if statements were the key aspect really for this. Here's the delay function here. Basically all it does is it's checking that the milliseconds have passed and at that time has been completed the 2000 milliseconds. Now if I move further down, this is where it gets a little more complex. This is where if statements are triggered based on what the light values do. So if one of the light sensors is a 1, which means that it's receiving light, and frozen play equals false, which is the boolean that we set at the top, then frozen will play. An image is drawn, which is the size of the video being displayed, and then I've just added a print line there to test that frozen's playing. And then at the end the boolean has to be set then to true instead. This stops the video from playing over and over again. I have then done the equivalent for the Hercules video, but instead for the value 3. And then moving further down, for stop, 0 and 2 have been used respectively. And with the video files playing, one of the issues was that once the video had been stopped, the screen kept the last frame of the video showing. Now I wanted it to return to black, and so what I've done is I've just added a draw of a rectangle which fills the entire screen. I've set a variable screen fill, which is just the colour black, so it will just add a rectangle which is black over the top, so it will just return to black when the video is stopped. And the final aspect is the movie event. Now this I had a little problem with, because there are now 2 movies being involved. It had to be converted into an if statement so that it can recognise which movie is being played, and it was this area where the image had to be added just below read, because I used a print line which is below to check that each frame was indeed being read, because to begin with it was just sound that was coming through and I was receiving no picture. So adding this image part after the read, it now shows the image of each frame in the video. Now what I will do is I will just demonstrate this as a test. So going to the Arduino section, and I'll just upload that to my Arduino board. Now go to processing, I'll hit play. Now if I switch up the processing and extend the serial monitor, you can see that 0 and 2s are coming through to begin with. This is showing that nothing is happening. Now if I remove the frozen disk, it will switch to a 1. The video has now started playing. Now if I put the disk back, it's now stopped, it's gone to a black screen, that's that rectangle that's being drawn. And now if I remove the Hercules disk, a 3 is now showing, and the Hercules is playing. And now just placing that disk back, Hercules has now stopped, and as you can see it's returned to 0 and 2 again. So it seems to be working fairly successfully. I'll just hold up an example here so you can see how the light sensors have been inserted. As you can see, the light sensor is just behind there. It's now playing the film, and now if I just place the disc back in, it's now blocking it off. And I'll just do the same again for Hercules. If I just hold that up, bring the disc down, the light can now be seen, the movie is playing, and now just putting the disc back, light sensor is covered, and the movie stops. So now that is done, I can just mock up a basic installation and we'll film it as if it is being presented in an installation space for the end of your show or for the Frequency Festival.